Shabbat Shalom. Every year there are bar and bat mitzvah students around the world who discover that they have been assigned the Torah portion of Tazria Metzora, and their hearts sink. After all, who wants to discuss strange and mysterious illnesses? Who would want to face Torah passages about embarrassing bodily functions? And how would a teenager relate to social isolation, to ostracization, and to people who are ill, being separated from the entire community? Well, this year, no rabbi is wondering how we will need to spin Tazria Metzora. In fact, this year of plague has been the closest that many of us have ever had to live through that seems to be of apparent biblical proportions. Throughout this week's Torah portion, we see so many similarities to what we are going through today. It would be easy to look at the events of our current time and try to perceive divine punishment inherent in the pandemic. In fact, many of us have even heard religious leaders saying that they know why God is doing this. Well, when we try to assume that we know why God is punishing an individual, punishing a specific group, or even all of humanity, it is important for us to remember the words of the prophet Isaiah. Lo machshavotai machshavotechem. My plans are not your plans. My ways are not your ways, declare the Lord. But as the heavens are high above the earth, so are my plans high above your ways, and my plans above your plans, God says. Rather, I would suggest that we look at this time as the ultimate opportunity to seek out the ultimate good in each of our lives. We are already taking the maximum number of precautions that we can to protect our health and the health of our neighbors. And these last number of weeks, though, have reminded us of what we have control over in our lives. And also, it's been a stark reminder what we don't have control of in our lives. The mysterious affliction that we see in the Torah is called tzara'at, often translated as leprosy. This is not actually Hansen's disease, the medical name for the ailment known as leprosy. Tzara'at is a spiritual affliction that is diagnosed and treated through spiritual ways, not medical ways. The tzara'at didn't only affect the person, but it also had the potential to affect the clothing and the home of the individual. We understand now more than ever the fear of an affliction in our clothing and even in our homes. For those of us who are friends with doctors or nurses or other frontline workers, we know the regimens that so many families are dealing with during this time. Workers will come home, drop their clothing off in the laundry, leave their shoes outside, shower, and change into clean clothes. So many of us are cleaning everything in our homes with the appropriate percentage of alcohol, wiping down the surfaces, and even wiping down our grocery bags. In today's Torah portion, though, we have a different type of house cleaning that it is described. The Torah describes the possibility of this tzara'at, this affliction, infecting the home of an Israelite. The Torah says in this week's parsha, God spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, when you enter the land of Canaan, that I give you as a possession, and I inflict an eruptive plague, a tzara'at, a nega tzara'at, upon a house in the land you possess, the owner of the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, something like a plague has appeared upon my house. So this translation has a piece of it that's not so accurate. The translation that most of our chumashim have is, I inflict a plague of tzara'at. The Hebrew is actually different. The Hebrew says, v'natati nega tzara'at. I am giving you the plague on the house. The idea of God giving us pain is a very hard concept to absorb. So let's reframe this. We don't know why we receive pain in our lives. We don't always understand the depth of pain that many people that we know, many people that we love need to go through. And at this time especially, we are reminded how much is out of our control. But what we need to focus on is the gifts of what we do have control over, as well as recognizing that which we don't. The Malbim, which is an acronym for Meir Labush Ben Yechiel Michel Wieser, was a rabbi in Romania at the end of the 19th century. And he quotes the Midrash, and he says that Rabbi Yehuda wants to see the plague of tzara'at as an opportunity for the elimination of sin and iniquity. This is the gift that God gives, is that not the plague itself, but rather as the opportunity for self-reflection, I would hesitate to say, at least in my personal life, I don't know about yours, that this time a pandemic has rid my life of sin and iniquity. I still have the same shortcomings that I did before Purim. I still struggle with the same struggles. I still make many of the same exact mistakes, the sins, the shortcomings, the transgressions that I did before this all started. But let me tell you what else I've seen. I've seen how many people have used this difficult time to increase the good in our world. This is the matana. This is the gift that God is giving us during this time. It is the ability to do good. It is the realization that we are not totally helpless. We still have many ways at our disposal to help others. We can do this with the skills, wisdom, and abilities that God already gave us before the plague even arrived. The rabbis say that God has the ability to provide the cure before the disease. I don't know the path that will take us to healing and to wholeness. However, I do know that each of us have the ability to minimize so much pain and comfort in the other. That's the cure that God provided us before the illness. This Friday and Shabbat is Rosh Chodesh Iyar. So from my home to yours, I want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom and a month of healing and kindness for you and all of your loved ones.